Question 5, calling the Honourable Member for Douglas East, Ms Faragher.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I'd like to ask the Minister for Environment, Food and Agriculture, how many applications have been received for grants under the Energy Efficiency Scheme since July 2018? How many have been approved? How much has been paid out to applicants? And whether there are approved suppliers of surveys or work under the scheme? Thank you.
Calling the Minister for Environment, Food and Agriculture to reply.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. The Energy Efficiency Scheme is operated by DEFRA and is open to homeowners and private renters with their landlord's consent. The objective of the scheme is to assist people to make their homes more energy efficient by investing in improvements. As such, the scheme is not rigid in what it will pay grants towards, but instead it must be shown that the grant payment will help to achieve energy efficiency in the home. The scheme is developed to support lower income families and homes, and as such it is only open to applicants who fall below income level criteria. With personal tax allowances, an individual applicant may have an income of up to £29,250 per annum and a jointly taxed couple £43,500. The grant pays 75% of the cost of an energy-saving item with a grant cap of £250 per item and a total claim limit of £1,000. Since July 2018, my department has received 143 applications for grants under this Energy Efficiency Scheme 2018, with 117 of those applications being approved. 82% is the equivalent. Although to date only 88% of the approved applications have resulted in grant claims. Total payments under the Energy Efficiency Scheme 2018 over the past 3 years have been £19,779.66. The scheme does not specify approved suppliers of surveys or work, but the department would require that a suitably qualified contractor had undertaken the work. My department is conscious that take-up of the scheme is low, and we are therefore currently looking to improve awareness of the scheme and its benefits amongst the scheme's target market via social media, netzero.im, Isle of Man Biosphere and radio interviews. We're also currently reviewing the scheme and hope to bring forward improvements to simplify the application process and make the grants more appealing for applicants. Potential options being considered include larger grant payment, i.e. the maximum payment of £1,000 might be payable towards only one improvement rather than 4 smaller projects, and to fund householders to purchase materials to enable DIY works that do not require specific skills or trades. All feedback from honourable members would be welcome on actions that could be taken to improve the scheme and or the take-up of it. Thank you, Mr Speaker.
Raunchy question, Ms Faragher.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and thank you, Minister Barber, for that interesting response. Mr Speaker, according to the Private Sector Housing Stock Survey published in June 2020, our housing stock is almost half G to E rated, which means that we lag well behind the UK, which in turn lags well behind every other European country in terms of energy efficiency. I think there's 2 issues here. Firstly, the climate emergency, and secondly, soaring energy costs, which leave more and more households in fuel poverty. I do want to acknowledge that the Minister is quite new to this position, but given the numbers provided there, so £19,779.66 spent on energy efficiency, does the Minister not agree with me that more effort needs to be put into this in future for it to have a tangible impact upon our carbon emissions and to help people have warmer homes at cost less to heat? And I wonder if the Minister could confirm plans for wider take-up of that scheme. Thank you.
Minister to reply.
Thank you, and I'm delighted to agree with my honourable colleague from Douglas East. I certainly was surprised at the level of take-up when the information was available earlier in discussions actually around the Green Living Grant the Energy Efficiency Scheme, muddling up my 2 schemes now, which I'm surely not in time. It's quite clear that there is a need to support people to make energy efficiency changes within their properties, and it's absolutely right, and that's why we're already looking to increase awareness of the scheme and increase take-up, and also, as I say, look at ways we can make that scheme work better for people, taking some of the feedback we've already had, but also if honourable members do have other feedback from people, I'd certainly be grateful to have received that. Thank you.
Question, Mr Thomas.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and I'm delighted the Minister's welcomes feedback. Does the Minister agree with me that the failed scheme that she's talking about now and the Green Living Grant scheme administered by DFE for the Climate Change Transformation Board, which also hasn't given out any money, is reason for actually doing it right and actually putting in place a proper scheme, a housing improvement scheme under Section 5.1 of the 2011 Housing Miscellaneous Provisions Act, as has been mentioned often in this place? And secondly, is the Minister aware, following on from the excellent points made by Ms Faragher, that in 2008, when the previous private housing condition survey was done, the Isle of Man was ahead of the United Kingdom in terms of energy efficiency, and now it's behind, which suggests we've done it wrong in silos for 10 years, and it's all our fault that we are where we are.
Minister?
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I certainly think we should always be reviewing schemes and how we provide support to people to make the necessary changes to their properties. I'm not going to make policy on the floor of this honourable House. I think it would be inappropriate, but I certainly think we will be committing to give consideration to that wider piece, and certainly that's a piece of work that's also happening within Climate Change Transformation Board to identify how we can best use the resources to support the maximum number of people to make the most effective changes.
Supplementary question, Ms Faragher?
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Given that the scheme is for people on lower income, does this not already place a limit on its effectiveness and take-up? And would the Minister not agree with me that we should be looking to expand the scheme out to all households, actually, given my previous comments about almost half of our housing stock being G to E rated? Thank you.
Minister to reply.
Thank you, and I think it's a really valid point made. I think what we need to understand is where the need sits, where the challenges lie, and I think that rolling out to all households, while I think appears to be a great idea, could potentially end up with us being criticised then for rolling it out to people who are of very good means and simply haven't made those choices. And I think it's about understanding what the barriers are to ensure that we're best using the money to get the best outcomes.
Final supplementary, Mr Thomas.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Does the Minister agree with me that people who have damp and water coming through their walls are hardly likely to engage in terms of LED light bulbs through the scheme that's under question now? And does the Minister agree with me that it's a bit irrelevant talking about an audit and moving to an air source heat pump if your basic worry is that you haven't got you've got damp on your floor and water's coming through your ceiling? So does the Minister want to confirm here today that the Climate Change Transformation Team is looking and making a scheme under the Housing Improvements Schemes section of the Housing Miscellaneous Provision Act, firstly, and secondly, does the Minister think that I should be right to be disappointed if the Treasury Minister doesn't mention that in his budget speech next week?
Minister to reply.
Thank you. I can't comment on what may or may not disappoint the honourable member, and as I said before, I'm not going to make policy here and now, but what I am committed to is having those conversations and getting this right, and I hope the honourable member will take me in good faith in that regard. What I would say is this isn't just about light bulbs, that's a separate scheme in fact. The most common energy saving improvements have been around loft insulation, replacement windows, replacement boilers, replacement radiators, thermostatic radiator valves and wall and floor insulation. So it's quite an extensive scheme, but I do acknowledge we can always do more. Thank you very much, Mr Speaker.